Okay, it's 5:01. We're going to start the Finance and Purchasing Committee meeting for Monday, December 16th. Roll call, please.
Don't ask.
Alderman, I got to make sure I'm in the right committee. Alderman Newsome.
Here.
Alderman Moiseo.
Here.
Alderman Rivera.
Present.
Alderman Seeger.
Present.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Alderman Kirkwood is not here.
Okay.
Glad to be back.
All right, I'll take a motion by Alderman Moiseo, second by Alderman Rivera to approve Finance and Purchasing Committee meeting minutes from November 18th, 2019. Are there any questions on this motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Item D, public comment. Is there anyone in the public that wants to speak on any agenda item that's on the Finance and Purchasing Committee? Being none, we go to new business. Item A, motion to approve an economic incentive agreement between the City of Waukegan and Elite Motors Works Incorporated. I'll take a motion by Alderman Seeger, second by Alderman Rivera. Elite Motor Works Incorporated has committed to redeveloping the property located at 100 North Green Bay Road with a motor vehicle dealership, and in exchange makes certain requests for incentives, including sales tax rebates under certain limitations. The near final draft agreement memorandum from the city's economic development legal team and the city's sales tax rebate policy is attached for committee review and consideration. We also have Mr. Vasselli.
Thank you, guys, Madam Chair. I'm James Vasselli.
We need you to, sorry, it's a little,
That one's not working.
Hello?
Oh,
it's working.
Is the light on?
okay.
I talk really loud.
But it needs to be on the
Yes, we
tape.
recorded
Light.
it. Never happened. Okay.
Is the light
Just push it on.
Hello?
There you
Oh, it's on. Thank you, Madam Chair. So yes, my name is James Vasselli, and I am here on behalf of the City of Waukegan to briefly take you through the Elite Motors Economic Incentive Agreement. I'd also like to put on the record that there are two Alexes, actually from Elite, in the audience, willing to answer any questions that you have. They understand that their obligation to you all is to be forthright and tell the truth. So tonight, we do have a sales tax sharing agreement for the property at 100 North Green Bay Road, where Elite will operate and maintain the property in conformity with all applicable city, state, and federal laws. Their reimbursement is based on sales tax. There's a cap of $80,000, meaning that the first $80,000 of sales tax goes directly to the city. And beyond that amount, it is split even in pari passu, paid dollar for dollar upon receipt from the state, 50-50. The incentive is the total amount of home rule sales tax. Municipal, I'm sorry, not exclusive of home rule sales tax, for municipal sales tax, so as to protect the interests of the city with regards to that. And I'd like to thank the CFO of the city for reminding me of that and making that distinction. The payments are made only after receipt of the same funds by the state of Illinois. And while these sales tax funds are generally kept secret, they are confidential records. In these instances, we can review the records to ensure compliance with all auditing requirements or upon request. The term is, it's a staggered term as it's presented. And again, let me remind the board of one thing. With any agreement such as this, it's really the city's discretion. We and staff make a recommendation to the city, and if they have questions with regards to any business terms, I would pose them to the Alexes here from Elite. But the term as we have it has it as a 4-year term because they are leasing the property. If they buy the property, it would then be increased to a 10-year term. We also have an overall cap of $400,000 to be paid to Elite as they are leasing the property, but if they purchase the property, that cap increases to $1.2 million. The agreement in terms and mechanics is similar to the classic, I believe, automobile sales tax agreement. There are penalty clauses at the end of the agreement that deals with their discontinuation of the dealership. And it would be a return or a recapture of some of the revenue received. And again, these terms aren't in there. I'm not going to read you guys every line of the agreement. They're in there. There's a memorandum in there. And if you have any deal term questions, you could ask me, you could ask the Alexes. But these are all standard provisions for a sales tax sharing agreement. Now, there are 2 points of this that have been brought up that I'd like to address now, Madam Chair, if you're okay with that. Number 1, this is a used car dealership. We'll be very forthright about that. And oftentimes there are differing opinions over incentivizing them. And I think it's important to think about and strongly consider providing an incentive to Elite for 2 reasons. Number 1, they did take a chance and move to the city of Waukegan. And while we are very proud of the city and we do understand the benefits and their market base is good for the city of Waukegan, the fact of the matter is they did move here with the understanding that they would look to the city at one point in time, whether it be agreed upon or not, to possibly consider providing them with an incentive. And their location. Now, their location, as you all know, and are probably more familiar with than me, is somewhat vacant at this point in time. There are high levels of vacancy. I believe the Ramada Hotel is vacant. I don't even think there's a sign on the hotel door anymore that says Ramada. I think it's just a big red sign. I believe another car dealership just left the area. So while this is somewhat unusual in so much it is a used car dealership and not a new one, and they are here and not coming into them when normally these incentive agreements come through, I believe that these should be considered in light of the fact that this is an area where there are high vacancies, that this area seems as though it could use some economic growth and spurring, and that this is a tempered agreement in so much that whatever they receive is only based upon what they collect after a cap and sales tax that we as a city actually receive. With that, Madam Chair, I open it up to any questions for myself or the gentleman from Elite.
Alderman?
No questions, just a comment. It's the same
Moiseo?
pill. You want half of something or all or nothing. I mean, that's, and we don't have to look any farther. Every municipality is going through this now. Everybody wants they want a deal. Everybody does, or they'll go somewhere else and they'll find the deal.
don't want that.
There's only one that doesn't want a deal. We know who they are.
And the Alderman's correct, 100%, that economic development for municipalities at this point in time in 2019, 2020, Happy New Year, everyone, is the reality of it all is everyone's looking for an incentive. And quite honestly, to be able to compete, you need to be able to consider, whether you pass it or not is up to your discretion. You need to be able to consider providing an economic incentive. So, Alderman, I didn't want to cut you off, but I 100% agree with you. And as you all know, I represent 22 municipalities that do this type of work.
It just is what it is. We can say no to any business that comes in here, but they'll just go somewhere else and they'll get a deal. I mean, we may not like it and we wish we didn't have to do it, but it's, as they say, the price of doing business.
Well, I think we can negotiate the terms a little bit different than the 50%. As was stated, that this is a used car dealership, and they're not sure if they're even going to buy the property. They're leasing right now.
The one thing I do like is $80,000 up front to us right away. We get the first 80, then it's 50-50 after that. They get 80,000. That's a nice. Now, is that 80,000 sales tax? That's the actual sales tax dollars, correct?
The first, and the payment year isn't quite defined, so I'm not sure if it's retroactive or the date of the agreement, if it's approved, but, so the first $80,000 received in municipal sales tax in that payment year, and then after that is 50-50, and then when the second year starts, the clock starts over again, and it's $80,000.
To me, that's actually a pretty good deal. Business is going to come in
correct?
and give you
Okay.
$80,000 up front and then go 50-50 after that. We got a lot worse deals than that, but that's not a bad deal in my mind.
It's very similar to the classic deal that we
That's a-
currently have.
I mean,
It's typical for these, Mr. Alderman, Chair, it is typical for these types of deals, that we start it every year with a cap and then split it. And if there are deal terms, Madam Chair, rather than negotiate on the floor,
Right.
rather than negotiate on the floor,
Right.
I would prefer that the committee probably through you and the CFO, provide me with a written correspondence, nothing formal, but just deal points, and then I would take that back to Elite. Obviously, this is business, so if there are deal terms, that's expected, and I will not put them on the spot, but I'm sure that they understand that we may have some questions about the specific deal terms of this agreement.
I would remind this committee as well that no other used car dealership is asking for an incentive. And are we opening a can of worms with this where they will start coming and say, well, you're giving it to them, they just moved in, I've been here 10 years, and
Business.
so we got to be mindful of that as well. Because we have, how many used car dealerships, did we ever find that out?
That was information that Noelle was going to research. I don't see her here, but we can certainly follow up.
If it's the Elite didn't they used to be in Mundelein and used to be in Grays Lake? Just from my, no, I'm not a car expert by any extent. They're a little higher end used car lot. They're not $2,000 junkers that fall apart when they, come out the lot. They're a lot higher end used car lot, a lot. This, from what I've seen and looked, but I mean, do we want to hear from the gentleman? Maybe they can or not. I mean, is that?
All right,
Alex, I'm sorry, but you need to speak in the microphone so it can be recorded.
Hello? Oh.
Yeah.
yes.
Just from the perspective of,
State your name first. and
Alex Grachanek from Elite Motors.
Okay.
Just from the perspective of judging a dealership versus used and new car, we're a very high volume dealership. So I would say we probably do volume that are higher than some of your franchise stores here in Waukegan, which means the tax revenue that we'd be bringing in would probably be higher as well. So that's just something to consider. If you have a flood of dealers that sell as many cars as we do that want to attack Waukegan and ask for a dealer incentive, I think you guys would be in good shape. Meaning it'd be a lot of, revenue for the city, tax revenue. So that's just for something to consider.
Alex, can you talk a little bit about some of the improvements you've made to the properties and the property and any jobs or other things that you've brought to the community since relocating here?
Well, we employ just under 50 people at the store there, and some of those are Waukegan residents, obviously, and as positions open up, they open up to anybody, including Waukegan residents. In terms of improvements, I mean, we've done a remodel, and we, try to maintain the property, and, we do our best to try to make it look aesthetically as appealing as possible.
And it was vacant, correct?
Yes, it was vacant for, I think, a while, so.
This was the old Rosen.
This, yeah, so we moved in I want to say springtime of 17. So, and yeah, so, and we started these conversations before we moved in, but. We, again, like or unlike a franchise store, he asked me to just elaborate on how many people we bring through the city. We have a quite extensive advertising budget, and we see 500 what we mark as shows just from the sales end, which could be families of 4. So we probably put, 1,500 people through the city. Many of them are not Waukegan residents that end up then using, Waukegan businesses and gas stations and restaurants. And
Okay, any more questions?
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alex. I know we were going to just hear what you had to say.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, if the board is The board is not required to make a decision on this tonight. The board can table it and consider it and come back with feedback, which we will then send to Elite. Obviously, all deals, no one likes a long stagnating deal. Elite has been patient with us, even though they somewhat need to be, because it's our discretionary incentive. When I say our, I mean the city, to provide or not to provide. But if there are questions of the committee, then they can easily just summarize them. We can give them back to Elite, and then they can provide feedback. When I say questions, if there's deal point issues or something like that. And if, honestly, if there is some question on that, a motion to table is well in order on here. I know this committee meets monthly or biweekly? Monthly. So you could table it to the next board meeting, and I'm sure Elite will understand our patience because they understand the process it needs to take as a governmental agency and do its due diligence with regards to that.
Okay,
And the motion to table is not debatable, it'll just be a motion and a second to table for 1 month, and then we come back here, and I'll come back, and they'll, I'm sure, gentlemen, you guys will come back, right? The gentlemen will come back, and if they have any questions, or you have any questions of me, we're happy to answer them.
okay, all right. What we can do is leave it in committee till,
You can either make a motion to table it to a date certain to ensure that it comes back, or you can just table it, and then it can come back whenever, you know, you
Okay.
as chair decide to place it back on the agenda.
okay. We can table it until our,
We don't normally require a motion to table in committee. Anyone on the committee can table.
okay,
But let's go ahead and table it. And if you guys want to table it in committee, I mean, I'm ready to vote it, but if you want to table it in committee, we can table it and bring it back at the next meeting. That's fine. I mean, I'll make the motion to table it if we got to go through the
or it
procedures.
would be the second meeting in January.
That's fine. Whatever the committee wants to do.
I'd like to table it,
Then I'll make the motion to table it till the meeting in January.
second meeting in January.
That's fine.
And then can we also have a motion to seat Alderman Kirkwood?
Take a motion by Alderman Moiseo, second by Alderman Seeger to seat Alderman Kirkwood. All
Aye.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
So we meet the third Monday of every month.
So it'll be the third Monday in January.
Isn't that Martin Luther King?
So it'd be the 20
Tuesday.
So it'd be the 21st. January 21st.
And then if any of the committee members of the aldermen would like to email questions, I can take those and pass them on to Mr. Vaselli, or you can email him directly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alexis. Mr.
They have
Thank
last
you.
names.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we take a motion to move up. the items.
Item 3B.
Hoopy?
Reports.
3B is the Regional 911 Consolidation Project update.
Okay, I take a motion by Alderman Rivera, second by Alderman Kirkwood to move up 3B.
Do a voice vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, Mr. Jim, this is regarding the 911 consolidation.
Good evening, everyone, and Madam Chair, thank you for the invitation. Remember, I spoke with Jim Hawkins, the 911 Consolidation Project Manager, spoke with this committee a number of months ago and just was asked to bring an update to where we are from the 911 Consolidation Project. So just as a reminder, about a year ago, actually September, the project started where 21 public safety entities came together, Waukegan being one of them, to take a look at consolidating 911 centers. So 21 public safety entities. Of the partners, there are actually 8 911 centers in the partnership. And we've been moving forward kind of through 3 steps. First step was to take a look at the data that is out there amongst all of the 911 centers for the ones that are participating. Then with that data, we looked at some concepts of operations that would be acceptable to the partners, again, across the 21. And then once we had an agreed upon concept of operations, we moved that into a more detailed implementation plan. So just recently on the 6th of December, we released the implementation plan. I believe it is attached to your agenda and moving forward. So the concept that was agreed to and where we went to a little bit more of the detailed plan is really what we call a 3-tiered concept of operations. As I was working with the partners, it became clear that all of the partners were starting in a different spot and some wanted to end in a different spot when it came to consolidation. So from the three tiers that we're now looking for the partners to look at and to come back in a couple of months and have a discussion on where they might want to end up is this. So the first tier is just buying the same equipment. Where there would be savings for the partners when it comes to that equipment, maybe get on the same maintenance contracts, but that would be the first consideration on that first tier of consolidation. The second tier, if some of the partners want to go this way, would be what we call a virtual consolidation, which would be buying the same equipment but also having the same connectivity and also the same policies so that various centers geographically separated could operate as if they were one. And then the third tier is that physical consolidation, which I know has been talked about in the past. Some partners may want to go that way, others may not. So right now, we've given the plan to the partners. We're asking each of the partners to take a look at that and then come back in February to have a question and answer period amongst the Policy and Operations Committee leadership. And then in March, to have a little bit more serious conversation on where the partners might want to be. Maybe some want to be Tier 1, maybe some want to be Tier 2, and some want to be Tier 3 as an example. So moving forward, that's one piece, but also in parallel to this, the group, the consortium has come together and has agreed to put out a request for proposal for that technology. So Waukegan's public PSAP, Public Safety Answering Point, as well as the other PSAPs involved, are working with a consultant that's been brought on board to write a request for proposal to look at this broad technology piece, primarily from the computer-aided dispatch, records management systems, as well as the jail management systems. So the goal will be get that RFP written, get that out on the street, get agreement from all the partners on what might be that next step when it comes to that level of technology, and then when each of the partners or each of those partner PSAPs are ready to go to that technology, then to purchase it if that is the decision of that individual partner. So again, right now the report is out, looking for each of the partners to review it, get together in February for question and answer amongst the Policy and Operations Committee, and then in March have a better idea, asking the partners where they might want to be within the tiers or not. Again, this is a decision that each of the partners can make and each of the partner PSAPs can make on where they want to be, or if they choose to bring some other folks in, or if they choose to step out. So again, that's my update, but I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Are there any questions?
Thank you for the.
All right. Thank you,
All right.
Mr. Hawkins.
Hey, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to go back with the agenda. Item B, motion to authorize the proper city officials to approve a change order in the amount of $2,247, increasing the contract award to Data Management Incorporated for Time Clock Plus, approved on October 21st, 2019, to a total revised amount of $40,007. Motion by Alderman Kirkwood, second by Alderman Seager. This is due to severe weather on November 12th. Personnel from Time Clock Plus were rerouted and forced to stay overnight in Tennessee. Then they had to book a new flight to Chicago the next day. This resulted in additional charges to the city as reflected in the attached change order request. Are there any questions on this motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Aye.
Alderman Seager.
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo.
Aye.
Alderman Newsome.
Aye. Motion carried. Item C, motion to authorize the proper city officials to approve a change order in the amount of, is it on here?
Well, I think we need to make a motion to change the motion.
Okay. Take a motion by Alderman Rivera, second by Alderman Kirkwood, to amend the motion, motion to authorize the proper city officials to approve a change order in the amount of $40,530. No,
Hey,
500.
40.
$40,000.
$531 and
No,
No,
this is what
31.
the total will be.
okay,
yeah.
$40,531. $31.
48,000.
That's what I had. 48?
Yeah, 48,120, not correct?
It's, yes, it's
Okay,
lower.
that's all right. Oh, that's good.
Rivera, did I say Kirkwood?
We'll call you up in a moment. We're fine. And then we need to-
Okay, increasing the contract award to the Owens Group for insurance policy agreements approved on June 17, 2019, to a total revised amount of $1,156,766. I had a motion by Alderman Rivera, second by Alderman Kirkwood. To amend the motion, roll call.
Alderman Seager?
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo?
Aye.
Alderman Rivera?
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood?
Aye.
Alderman Newsome?
Aye. Now, motion by Alderman Rivera, second by Alderman Kirkwood, to authorize the proper city officials to approve a change order in the amount of $40,530, increasing the contract award to the Owens Group for insurance policy agreement approved on June 17, 2019, to a total revised amount of $1,156,766. Are there any questions on the motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Moiseo?
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood?
Aye.
Alderman Rivera?
Aye.
Alderman Seager?
Aye.
Alderman Newsome?
Aye. Motion carried. Item D, motion to authorize the proper city officials to approve, excuse me,
The total was the correct amount.
The total is 44,162.07.
What is this
44.
you gave us?
The amount of the change
Oh.
order needs to be the 44.
Okay.
okay, we didn't read the
Maybe
right
next
amount.
time we can have this before the agenda's printed.
52.
Okay. Sorry, we have to
Seven.
redo the motion.
So,
We could have just left it as it was written. Some change.
so, 44,000,
All right, 44,
44.
163.
Wait a minute.
163.
Good thing it's going down.
1,000,000.
So 3. So in your total of 1,160,398.
Is that what you have? Katie?
1160398.
Oh. 1639. 6398. Okay, we rounded to the,
Up to the nearest dollar. Yep, okay.
all right, now we have to redo this.
Okay.
Item C, motion to amend the amendment that we did. Authorize the proper city officials to approve a change order in the amount of $44,163, increasing the contract award to the Owens Group for insurance policy agreements approved on June 17, 2019, to a total revised amount of $1,160,398. Motion by Alderman Rivera, second by Alderman Kirkwood. To amend the motion. Roll call, please.
Alderman Seager?
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo?
Aye.
Alderman Rivera?
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood?
Aye.
Alderman Newsome?
Aye. Now, on the amended motion, motion to authorize the proper city officials to approve a change order in the amount of $44,163, increasing the contract award to the Owens Group for insurance policy agreements approved on June 17, 2019, to a total revised amount of $1,160,398. A motion by Alderman Rivera, second by Alderman Kirkwood. Are there any questions on this motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Seager?
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo?
Aye.
Alderman Rivera?
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood?
Aye.
Alderman Newsome?
Aye, motion carried. Item D, motion to authorize the proper city officials to approve a change order in the amount of $50,930, increasing the contract award to Kluber architects, and engineers for facility improvement projects oversight services approved on August 19th, 2019, to a total revised amount of $210,930. This project utilizes 2018 BGO bond funds. Motion by Alderman Moiseo, second by Alderman Seager. Are there any questions on this motion?
Madam Chairman, what
Yes.
building is this?
Isn't this the water plant?
This particular project is, the total project is for safety and ADA improvements to City Hall.
Oh, City Hall.
Some improvements to the police station, and then also fuel islands out at Public Works.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
So we're covering three buildings.
Yes.
Thank
A
you,
re-
Dan.
Request for
Thank you.
qualification.
Okay, just a question.
Qualifications.
So,
Go ahead.
so which building couldn't we find the blueprints of?
I'm not sure. Katie, do you have that information?
So we are missing some blueprints for the police department, significantly likely due to the age of the building. And then the significant cost of the change order is actually for the specialty consultants that we'll need for the fuel island survey work, civil engineering, and other specialty consultants for the state requirements in regards to like environmental services.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Roll call.
Alderman Kirkwood?
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo?
Aye.
Alderman Rivera?
Aye.
Alderman Seager?
Aye.
Alderman Newsome?
Aye, motion carried. Motion to authorize the proper city officials to execute an agreement with Coons County Ford in the amount not to exceed $86,382 for the purposes of purchasing 3 Ford Explorer SUVs and to waive the competitive bidding process pursuant to the City of Waukegan Code of Ordinances exemption for government joint purchasing, Section 2-458, I-3, Suburban Purchasing Cooperative Contract, number 191. Motion by Alderman Rivera, second by Alderman Kirkwood. The Waukegan Police Department requests permission to use asset forfeiture funds to acquire 3 2020 Ford Explorer SUVs from Coons County Ford with a total price not to exceed $86,382. The purchase completed via Suburban Purchasing Cooperative Contract number 191. Are there any questions on this motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Rivera?
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood? Alderman Kirkwood?
Aye.
Alderman Seager?
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo?
Aye.
Alderman Newsome?
Aye, motion carried. Item F, motion to authorize the proper city officials to authorize purchases of $75,000 from GHA Technologies Incorporated for the purpose of information technology supplies and services and to waive the competitive bidding process pursuant to City of Waukegan Code of Ordinances exemption of good faith waiver, Section 2-458, subsection I-7. Take a motion by Alderman Moiseo, second by Alderman Seager. After a review of vendor payments for the remaining fiscal year, payments related to computer commodities, maintenance, and professional services from GHA Technologies Incorporated would exceed $25,000. The IT director estimates a total of $75,000 will be expended with GHA Technologies for the 2019-2020 fiscal year. Are there any questions on this motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Seager?
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo?
Aye.
Alderman Rivera?
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood?
Aye.
Alderman Newsome?
Aye, motion carried. Item G, motion to authorize the proper city officials to approve a change order to the Andrus Medical Billing LTD contract approved by the City Council on December 18th, 2017. Motion by Alderman Kirkwood, second by Alderman Rivera. The fire chief and deputy chief, fire chief executed a change order as attached under administrative content, Corporation Council determined this to be a material modification to the agreement approved by City Council in 2017. The change order is being presented to the Finance and Purchasing Committee for retroactive authorization. Are there any questions on this motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Moiseo?
Aye.
Alderman Rivera?
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood?
Aye.
Alderman Seager?
Aye.
Alderman Newsome?
Aye, motion carried. Item H, motion to authorize the proper city officials to approve a change order in the amount of $312,000, increasing the contract award to Campanella and Sons for storm, sewer, and water main emergency repairs approved on July 15th, 2019, to a total revised amount of $412,000. This project utilizes 2018 water and sewer bond funds. Motion by Alderman Seager, second by Alderman Moiseo. Are there any questions to this motion?
I'm not sure, but did you have photos of this you wanted to share, Mark? Or was that was that the next one?
Well, it's this one, but if you don't want to see it.
So if the committee's interested, we have some photos of the repairs.
The emergency repairs?
Yeah.
I'm not sure,
Is that working?
it's not the one that makes a lot of noise, so I think
Okay.
that's the one that works.
No. I don't think so.
Oh, well.
I can upload the photos to board docs.
Okay, and then we could take a look at them.
Sure, so, I mean,
How
not
many?
right this minute, but
How many did you
you
have?
emailed them to me, I think.
Oh, 20.
Really, really big cracked and smushed pipes, is that right?
You,
How about if I just go
Little
through it
summary.
yeah, go through where they're located.
100,000.
So at the intersection of New York and Highland, north of Grand, when we were taking out the curb and gutter and the pavement and the sidewalk to improve or do the roadway package and the sidewalk package, we found a 8-foot by 13-foot, 8-foot wide by 13-foot deep, 13-foot wide, 8-foot deep culvert, which basically carries the Waukegan River through the neighborhood. The watershed area is probably Lewis to Western and goes all the way up to Bonnybrook Golf Course. But the culvert had about 3 inches of cover over the top of the pipe, so when the curb was removed, so was the top of the pipe. We didn't know that it was that shallow. So the picture I have is the top of the pipe and the contractor doing dewatering so that they could replace 60 feet of this 8 by 13 arch pipe.
Madam Chairman,
Alderman Moiseo?
am I correct in assuming that anytime we have something underground and we have a contractor, they really don't do anything like this? You don't know until you get it dug up or open up. It's like a human body. You don't know until you open up what's really down there or in there, and you don't know. That's why, I mean, I've been up here long enough to see enough change orders. I mean, they can give you a pretty good estimate, but they might open up and say, oh, Lord, this, you know, like you said, it's just, you never really know.
And with good information, we would normally know that this was an unusual case, and it was a giant pipe, and we couldn't have anticipated it. so.
And plus, this is an old town. I mean, we got a lot of stuff that we don't even know about until we get the ground opened up. So, I mean, I think we just need to put that out there. I mean, we try our best, like you said, good information, but sometimes you just don't have it. You don't know until you get the ground open.
There are surprises, and we call them discovered conditions, and
Right.
that's the way it goes sometimes. So this represents a certain dollar amount of whatever was the request was for, above the 100,000. But the pictures that we'll put up there are basically the smushed and crinkled pipe, and then photos of the new pipe that went in, which you can see that you could drive a car through. Essentially, it's like a tunnel. And then the installation methods, and then the restored area, which actually turned out very nice.
and Highland.
So it was Campanella was doing the work. And then we paved the road as part of the roadway program because it was supposed to be done anyway. We were working there. The next one I have is the Guerin Road culvert. This is Guerin Road about a quarter mile east of River Road. We had designed and we were permitting this project through the Corps of Engineers and the Department of Natural Resources. This was another example of a culvert that, actually, I think it was listed, it may have been listed as in need of repair. But with the rains that we had at the end of the summer and in the fall, it was compromised. You'll see the pictures there of the conditions, high water levels well after the rain. And then really the road collapsed underneath or above the culvert, leaving a void. And then, according to the bid documents, we just removed the road, cut a trench, put in new 60-inch diameter concrete pipe underneath the road, and then restore the embankment with the flared end sections and riprap, and then restored the pavement above, which I think Mike did. Right? And that's another portion of that change order. The last one that I have is at the intersection of West and Water Street. We noticed there was a void underneath the sidewalk along Water Street on the south side of the road. And in front of the sidewalk was a curb inlet which had eroded on the inside, and the pipe that was discharging to the ravine or to the river was disconnected from the structure. It was about a 15-inch or an 18-inch diameter corrugated metal pipe. You'll see the pictures on there, but over time, the water coming out of that structure had eroded the ravine significantly, probably 15 to 20 feet wide by 50 feet deep by 100 feet upstream from up the embankment from the river. You'll see the significant amount of erosion there. What ended up happening is we told the contractor to abandon the structure in place, redirect the storm sewer from the east side of the road to the west side of the road to a new pipe that was installed last year, and then do the restoration on the south side of the road. Regarding filling the ravine, they put fill in the ravine to bring it back and stabilize the slope. Good. And you'll see, the other thing is, as part of that, there was some surcharge sewer that was getting into the police department basement because of a slow sewer going to that sewer that we abandoned. And we replaced that as part of this contract. You want to add what was happening there? So we basically put the sewer back together in West Street and put the pavement back. This is them working in the trench there.
So what we did was we changed some of the routing so it would no longer go into the ravine that way, because last year we adjusted the one side, so we tied in there. So we shouldn't have any more problems at that intersection ever again. And it should drain the police department also, all the way from the police department to the ravine. All right. And other things that we did under this, where we had water main breaks, and that was kind of the original intention. And then we also had a sewer collapse underneath, well, adjacent to the railroad on South Avenue. And that was a fairly decent-sized project, not too expensive. And this gives us a little play, too, because the year's not over with. And we also had a water main break just 3 days ago, last week, on Glen Rock. And it was 20 feet deep, so Campanella came in and did that. All right?
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to add one thing. So in the 3 cases that were described, or 4 cases, it all became discovered conditions at that point. Fortunately, we had a contractor that was ready to go. The things that were compromised or failed during construction or due to natural causes had to get done in order to keep roads open and the infrastructure intact. So
All right, thank you. Are any questions? Did we do a roll call on that already?
Not yet.
Okay. No more questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Kirkwood,
Aye.
Alderman Rivera,
Aye.
Alderman Seager,
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo.
Aye.
Alderman Newsome.
Aye. Item I. Item I, motion to authorize the proper city officials to approve a change order in the amount of $57,864, increasing the contract award to Caponella and Sons for emergency repairs due to Rugby Court water main approved on October 21st, 2019, to a total revised amount of $205,312. This project utilizes 2018 C water and sewer bonds. Motion by Alderman Moiseo, second by Alderman Kirkwood. Are there any questions on this motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Seager,
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera,
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood,
Aye.
Alderman Newsome.
Aye. Motion carried. Item J, motion to authorize the proper city officials to execute an agreement with Paul Construction USA LLC in an amount not to exceed $189,596 for the purpose of water main lining and to waive the competitive bidding process pursuant to City of Waukegan Code of Ordinances exemption of high degree of skill, Section 2-458I5. This project utilizes 2018 C water and sewer bonds. Motion by Alderman Rivera, second by Alderman Seager. This is certain water main infrastructure is in need of repair, replacement. All this information is included in your packet. Any questions on the motion? Alderman Taylor?
I just had a quick one, because it says that we're waiving the competitive bidding because it needs a high degree of specialty. Yet, when I Googled this particular item, many companies come up, including one in Grace Lake called New Flow. Explain to me why we didn't do the competitive bidding process. I mean, I'd like you to come up and tell me what is unique to your company.
So our company, when you Googled.
I'm sorry, sir, could you state your name?
Yeah, Scott Strabel with Pal Construction. My
Scott.
company does structural water main lining for municipalities.
Thank you.
When you Googled
Water main linings.
water main lining, so water main lining is all we do. This technology has been around for a long time on sewer, but not specifically potable water. We've done water main lining for approximately 40 municipalities in the Chicagoland area, as well as we're the leader in this market where most other companies focus on sewer lining. So we, on publicly bid items, we end up doing about 90+% of this type of work in Chicago and in North America. Is that it?
Yeah, I just want to know what was unique.
Are there any other questions to this motion?
Yeah, why didn't we go out for an RFP? I mean, Mike, that would be for you.
the reason is because Paul is the specialty contractor in the area. You go to municipalities and nobody specializes in this. And I think the city's looking at this as a pilot project, in a sense.
Pilot project for
The city hasn't done water main lining, I don't believe. We've never done water main lining.
Okay.
And this is the company that, like Scott says, has done 90% of the work in the area. That's what I can offer you.
I can add that, so with this particular project, we're self-performing with the city of Waukegan to save money. So my company does the lining portion. There's civil works that are required so we need to access the water main every 300 to 500 feet. We don't do that work. And on this particular project on Lewis Avenue, it's quite expensive to do the civil portion of the excavation by hiring a subcontractor. So we work typically with a subcontractor or we'll self-perform with the city. And when we're self-performing with the city, we get hired directly under an RFP.
Okay, basically on this one, it was one we could do that was accessible. It wasn't in the center of the road. We were able to, along with them, looking at the engineering design and that, we felt it would be a perfect project for us to try this because it does save money as far as we don't have to tear roads open. We only have to put little slits or inserts. It's a new, for us, it's totally new, rather than go in total rebuild of water mains. And seeing as how we do have transite and certain other issues, this may be more conducive to what we can do in the future. Something different. And it's not totally expensive, considering it would cost us more up to rip the main out, redo the main, redo all the landscaping. So this was more or less a experiment, if you want to call it.
So there's no one else doing this then?
No, and actually, I got online, looked, and actually for credentials and that, they are top line. And I did references, calling up the people that have done it, or, municipalities. They're very high quality. Okay? Did a research, so.
You said Lewis Avenue? What portion of Lewis Avenue?
Yeah, Lewis Avenue, it'll go from Belvedere to Dugdale. This was a good one because we've had problems with it. There isn't a lot of, we were looking for something, if we were going to do this, we wouldn't have a lot of interconnects, so we wouldn't have to do a lot of bypassing. In other words, if you have a whole bunch of areas where you have connections to homes or businesses, then you have to bypass that while you're doing this, okay? So we felt this would be an actual perfect place to try it, and it needs to be done. And maybe down the road, we can do Macquarie or Keller. This was a good place to start. Trying to save money and work.
All right. I see that you say that they're the specialty contractor in this type of work. Are they just doing this one particular job? You said from Belvedere to Dugdale?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. We have plans maybe next year, the year after or whatever, to do those other?
Well, what I'm looking to do is see how difficult this is, how much we can perform and do, okay, because we have to dig trenches or spots where they can tie in. We're also looking at how many other services there are. And when they do this project, they have, they go through the line and inspect, and that way we can determine how many services, so they cut out for those services. The other issue is the hydrants, if they're so old, they really have a problem doing it. So this was a perfect scenario to try it in.
So,
Did a lot of research.
That's fine. In next year, whenever we want to do work on the other streets, you were saying Keller, and can we do a RFQ, so that we can keep it on the up and up?
Yeah.
That, somebody else, make sure.
Well, there's like maybe two other companies that do this quality, so.
All right.
And this
We can
one
do a RFQ.
has a lot of recommendations from all the municipalities.
Okay.
I do want to note that after conferring with Corporation Counsel, we did not include the sole source language in the motion because we did not feel that it was a sole source contract. That's why we use the high degree of skill
Okay.
waiver. if the committee would like to change that to a good faith waiver instead, which is the most flexible waiver, that can be done, but that does take a supermajority vote.
Well, the high degree, skill, whatever, it's fine with me for right now, but in the future, whenever we decide to do more work like this, I would like to see a RFQ so that we know for sure that this is, the
Agreed.
people that we need to be working with. All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Alderman, could I add one thing?
Sure.
We did ask Paul to provide a price for the work so that Public Works did not have to perform any of the work. And for 2,020 feet of water main cleaning, lining, it was $850,000. So that included all the excavation, pavement removal, backfilling trenches, all the work associated with the lining.
And that's the work we're going to be doing.
And the restoration. So the work that the city's going to do is really the bulk of the work.
Right.
The work that Scott's going to do or Paul's going to do is basically, the city gets it ready, Scott comes in,
They take care of,
lines the pipe, Mike puts it back.
okay. All right,
That's the high degree of skill. Mike can't do it.
okay.
Mike can do anything.
All right. We'll take a roll call on item J.
Alderman Moiseo?
Aye.
Alderman Rivera?
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood?
Aye.
Alderman Seager?
Aye.
Alderman Newsome?
Aye, thank you. Item K, motion to authorize the proper city officials to award a contract to Mississippi Valley Pump Incorporated in the amount of $572,048, the lowest responsible bidder for lift station pump repairs. This project utilizes 2018 seawater and sewer bonds. Going to take a motion by Alderman Moiseo, second by Alderman Kirkwood. And the lift station pump project had a bid opening on December 3rd, 2019. There were 3 bids received for the project. However, the other 2 bids were incomplete bids as they did not include the required bid bond with the submitted bids. There is recommended that the contract be awarded to Mississippi Valley Pump Incorporated. Are there any questions on this motion? Roll call, please. Oh, Alderman Seager?
Is this for the water plant?
No, this is for water pumping stations,
Oh, okay, okay.
Station.
or I'm sorry, lift stations.
Actually, this is for the sanitary lift stations.
Lift stations, right.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mike.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Rivera?
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood?
Aye.
Alderman Seager?
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo?
Aye.
Alderman Newsome?
Aye, motion carried. Item L, motion to authorize the proper city officials to execute a contract with Webb's Excavating in the amount not to exceed $30,000 for the purpose of emergency demolition and to waive the competitive bidding process pursuant to City of Waukegan Code of Ordinance exemption of bona fide emergency waiver. Motion by Alderman Kirkwood, second by Alderman Rivera. Are there any questions on this motion? Alderman Taylor?
This building is owned by somebody. Do we get reimbursed by them?
Building Commissioner Pertel is coming into the room to address your questions.
Okay.
That was my question. Are we putting a lien on this or what?
Mike,
You
the
heard us
only-
talking about
The only
you.
microphone working is the one right up here.
Watch your head.
Watch your head.
We're talking about the 709 North Avenue building that was
Democratic
emergency
headquarters.
demolition, and it went over the 25,000.
So my
And the question
question
is, are we
getting
getting
reimbursed?
reimbursed for that, or is there a lien going to be put on this since someone actually owned this
Yeah,
building?
so the details of that are still being worked out, whether it'll be a lien or a reimbursement or something, but it was city funds that were for the emergency demolition. I imagine it could be a lien or a reimbursement. I'm not exactly sure what that is yet.
So there is a landlord, because I know that was the Democratic headquarters, but they don't actually own the building, correct?
Correct.
Are the owners of the building, are we in contact with the owners? Do we have some type of contract, contact?
Yes, we do have contact with
Have
the,
we been in contact with them
Yeah.
did we ask them to take it down prior to?
they allowed us to take it down. Yeah, they gave us permission to take it down.
Why didn't they take it down?
Yeah, why?
It was again, it was an emergency situation. It's been sitting there vacant and abandoned for 10-plus years.
So it's been an emergency for 10-plus years?
Well, I think the person that owned it passed, didn't it? Wasn't it passed on to, was it a trust?
It's in a
or-
trust.
It was in a trust, and, I mean, you can go through that whole wrangle or just take the darn thing down. I mean, it was a person that died and was in a trust, and
So, but we are working on
Correct.
having that a lien. So it does not belong to the city?
It does
this
not.
property?
no.
So what prompted us to get involved?
Again, it's a property that's been vacant and abandoned for a number of years. There's some spalling with the bricks, some of the brick, it's been leaks, roof leaks for many years. There's moisture problems. It's a dangerous building, and we're just getting more and more proactive with these dangerous buildings, trying to make sure we get them down.
Were they not using it during the last election? No?
They haven't used that building in years. It's been a headache. It's not in my ward, but my parents lived, it's a headache for 12 years at least.
It's
There
a
hasn't been
huge
anybody in there in
building.
12 years, at least, probably more.
So once we tear it down, you said there's a possibility of putting a lien? Okay.
A lien or reimbursement?
Or getting reimbursed. So it's one or the other.
There's a number of options that we can take with it. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to be, but
Here comes the
We have
boss.
our corporation counsel.
So this was a property that Mike's office asked us to take a look at. There are a number of unique legal issues attached to this particular property, which made it one that we have a hard time believing that we'd ever collect from the owners in terms of trying to recuperate the city's costs. We can certainly put a lien on the property, although I would never imagine that we will ever see a penny out of that lien. This property has, among other things, IRS liens attached to it, a couple of mortgages on the property, so it's already far underwater. So the difficulty for us is that, trying to get the city to be in a position where we could either take the property or demolish the building was never really a realistic possibility with all that money owed on the property. Although we could have gotten ownership of the property, we would have gotten it subject to either those mortgages or certainly the federal liens on the property. So we're in a better position for allowing Mike, recognizing the emergency situation that Mike found in the property, allowing the city to tear down the property was a better outcome than us actually taking ownership of the building.
So you don't think anybody will ever buy that property? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is that in order for us to take ownership of the property, we would have had to clear some of those liens, including the federal liens. You can't do that in state courts, unfortunately. It would have involved us working with the federal government to clear those off, and that was just simply far higher threshold than the $20,000 we would expend just tearing down the building.
Well, if someone ever buys it, then, having a
will
lien
collect
on
our
it would be
lien, yeah.
better to,
We're
I guess
last in
better to
line.
have a lien on it.
As Alderman Moiseo correctly identified, we'd be last in line to get it. We would never see a penny of any of that because there's just too much out on the property. We can certainly put a lien on the property. I'm not saying we're not going to do that or not something that we're considering, but I want to set reasonable expectations for this council that we're not going to be reimbursed for this.
The IRS is always first in line.
Yes, sir.
Okey dokey. All right, any more questions on this item L? Roll call, please.
I have
Oh,
one
Alderman
question
Rivera.
for Mike. Have we identified any other properties like this?
Yeah, I imagine that there will be, so one of the things about our demolition process in the past has been, it's mostly been residential properties because we have the grant from IDA and the state. Recently, we've made some changes so that we can go after some of these commercial properties. This is just, happens to be one of the first commercial properties that we've gone for, so there will be more in the future.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Kirkwood?
Aye.
Alderman Seager?
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo?
Aye.
Alderman Rivera?
Aye.
Alderman Newsome?
Aye. Motion carried. Item M, motion to authorize the proper city officials to execute an agreement with Industrial Systems in the amount not to exceed $40,000 for the purpose of purchasing Winter Road treatment chemicals and to waive the competitive bidding process pursuant to City of Waukegan Code of Ordinance exemption of sole source, Section 2-458I1. Motion by Alderman Moiseo, second by Alderman Seager. Are there any questions on this motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Moiseo?
Aye.
Alderman Rivera?
Aye.
Alderman Seager?
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood?
Aye.
Alderman Newsome?
Aye. Motion carried. Item N, motion to authorize the proper city officials to execute an agreement with Cargill Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $460,000 for the purpose of purchasing road salt and to waive the competitive bidding process pursuant to City of Waukegan Code of Ordinances exemption of government joint purchasing, Section 2-458I3, State of Illinois, CMS, bid number 20-416-CMS-BOSS4-B-9023. Motion by Alderman Rivera, second by Alderman Kirkwood. Are there any questions to this motion? Funds will be charged to line item 228-9228-25485. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Rivera?
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood?
Aye.
Alderman Seager?
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo?
Aye.
Alderman Newsome?
Aye, motion carried. Item O, motion to authorize the proper city officials to execute an agreement with Gray Bar Electric in an amount not to exceed $25,000 for the purposes of electrical and lighting products and solutions, and to waive the competitive bidding process pursuant to City of Waukegan Code of Ordinances exemption of government joint purchasing, Section 2-458I3, U.S. Communities Contract Number EV2370. Motion by Alderman Seager, second by Alderman Rivera. Are there any questions to this motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Seager?
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo?
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood?
Aye.
Alderman Rivera?
Aye.
Alderman Newsome?
Aye, motion carried. Item P, motion to authorize the proper city officials to authorize purchases of $26,000 from Midwest Aggregates for the purpose of street and alley operating supplies and materials, and to waive the competitive bidding process pursuant to City of Waukegan Code of Ordinances exemption of good faith waiver, Section 2-458I7. Motion by Alderman Moiseo, second by Alderman Kirkwood. Are there any questions to this motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Moiseo?
Aye.
Alderman Rivera?
Aye.
Alderman Seager?
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood?
Aye.
Alderman Newsome?
Aye, motion carried. Item Q, motion to authorize the proper city officials to execute an agreement with Vector LLC for an amount not to exceed $100,000 for the purpose of electrical and solar inspections, and to waive the competitive bid process pursuant to City of Waukegan Code of Ordinances exemption of professional services waiver, Section 2-458, subsection I4. Motion by Alderman Rivera, second by Alderman Moiseo. Are there any questions to this motion?
I have a question.
Alderman Taylor?
Why I have no problem with this person, it's basically an electrician, so why is that not put out for bid?
Commissioner Patel?
This is a electrical contractor that the city has been using for a number of years that's worked with the city to do the electrical inspections, permit plan review, and solar plan review and inspection.
Now, is he a part-time, like he's an independent contractor? He doesn't work for the city, correct?
He works as a contractor for the city.
But he's not a city employee?
Technically, no.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
That's-
but-
Yeah.
So why didn't we go for an RFP on something like this? I mean, I understand that he's been doing business with us, but, I mean, there could be somebody else out there.
If that's what the council would like to do, it's not necessarily, in the ordinance, it says that we don't have to, but
That we don't have to
For
go out.
is it because of the professional services?
mhm.
We did this, is this a new contract with Vector?
This is
I see the attachment is accepted from 9/24/18.
so this is a renewal that we've done for the past couple years
So is this a new one that we're,
for this
What?
fiscal year, for the rest of this fiscal year, yeah.
so till April 2020?
April 2020.
So how long have we been using this contractor?
I would say I think 5 years.
Okay, so we've never gone out for an RFP on this for the last 5 years.
So I'd like to, before the end of the fiscal year, have his fees remained the same?
Yes.
Over the 5 years, he's never gone up to, is the $75 per inspection?
Yep, that's what he started at. It's been the same every year.
And he's inspecting, what is he inspecting now?
He's our elected.
Letter,
All of our
electrical.
electrical, any building permit and solar permit that involves electrical, he reviews and inspects.
I mean, we very well may keep them, but I would still like to,
I would agree.
I mean, he may come in as the lowest one still, but I'd still like to,
Let's go through the process.
yeah, take it through the process. So that, keep it on, like I said, like we're doing what we supposed to be doing, looking out for taxpayers' money. Are there any phone call conversations that we have to, or have there been? Any that we've had to call him on where we're billed?
I mean, this is phone calls if he gets from contractors and things like that.
From
He does bill
other-
He'll bill for phone calls, yeah. Phone calls, meetings, inspections, plan review.
And we've been paying him about $100,000 a year?
I don't know if it's quite, I think that it's almost around there. It's been very busy in the building department, building permits. There's been a lot of permits. I mean, I would look at hiring a full-time inspector, in my opinion.
Well, if we hire a full-time inspector,
be
and we're paying
cheaper.
benefits and everything,
Right, yeah, I mean, it's something to weigh. But it's,
Well, I mean, all we're looking for is an RFP. I mean, we're not saying that, we're going to change him from a contractor to an employee, right?
Right.
We're just making sure that we're getting,
Does this hold
information.
up,
It's more information.
does this hold up any projects for people if we do this?
well, I think that we at least need to get this
I mean, I don't have a problem approving this this is till the end of the fiscal year, right?
Right.
I don't have a problem approving it, but for the next fiscal year, you know, if we can start looking now and see if there's anybody out there. If there is not, then that's fine. But if
I would-
it is, then,
I would agree with Alderman Newsom. Approve it for now, and if you want to go off RFP, that's what we're going to do, that's what we're going to do, but, yeah, I don't want to hold up anybody's project.
no. I mean, 5 years is a long time, you know.
Yeah, there's
where-
nothing wrong with always checking the waters.
Right. Okay. Are there any more questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Rivera?
Up until when is the contract?
To the end of the fiscal year, that's April
April 30th,
20
2020.
2020. So when would we have to go out, start those biddings?
Yeah, for the
Probably
RFPs.
early January, February? Or
Yeah,
how
I
do-
would say by March at least, yeah.
Okay,
The way this motion's written is not to exceed 100,000, so it could go extend beyond April 30th if there was, I'm just explaining the way the motion's written. So this is up to $100,000. We didn't write that it expires as of April 30th, so it could cross over into next fiscal year if there's spending authority left. But we can go out to bid, or RFP, or RFI, or RFQ at any point in time. So it takes about, it's probably a 10-day process from the time we get the draft RFP or bid. It has to be on the city's website for 10 days. So it's about a 30-day process start to finish before we can bring it to council for award.
okay.
Can we at least start that process?
Alderman, Treasurer Schwab?
Mike, what would it cost to have a licensed electrician as a licensed inspector a year? Benefits, total cost, salary benefits, what would that cost?
As a
Why don't we
full-time,
have it?
as a full-time, yeah. So, for example, in the past, there's been, I know things change, but there's been full-time plumbing inspectors, electrical inspectors, multiple building inspectors, all these different things. Now we just have 2 current full-time building inspector and plumbing inspector. We contract HVAC, we contract electrical. The building inspector and plumbing inspector if starting, would get paid around the 76, I think, starting salary.
Benefits are between 35 to 45% of base salary. These positions, the people that were previously in these positions took the early retirement in 2009. And then subsequent to that, SEIU picked these titles up into their union. So they would be SEIU positions. But from a budgeting perspective, we usually assume 45% as the back of the envelope for overtime, health insurance, work comp, liability, IMRF, Medicare, Social Security, all those other benefits.
So Chairman, I asked the question, I knew the answer. I asked the question, so the people up here asking the questions understand that's how we do it. We could do it differently, and you wouldn't have a bid at all, 0. We just hire the individual.
Well, I think what we were trying to get at was that it wasn't, an RFP wasn't completed on it. I mean, we're not saying that we should hire somebody for this
Right.
position. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that for the last 5 years, the same person has been doing it,
That's fine.
and we're just asking, for the process to be completed.
Go out for whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just explaining the reason we could do it this way, or we could do it that way. For some reason, the city's decided to do it this way. Okay?
And that's
It's not my
fine.
choice. Nobody asked me my opinion.
Right.
But I just wanted to give you the information, there's a different way to do it. It's really simple.
And we
Possible.
will more than likely still do it this way, but we may have a few more choices, is what I'm saying. That's all. Okay. Roll call, please.
Alderman Rivera,
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood,
Aye.
Alderman Seager,
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo,
Aye.
Alderman Newsom.
Aye, motion carried. Item R, motion to authorize the proper city officials to execute an agreement with TRADOC in the amount not to exceed $35,000 for the purpose of tire services and to waive the competitive bidding process pursuant to City of Waukegan Code of Ordinances exemption of government joint purchasing, Section 2-458, I-3, Bridgestone, Firestone, State of Illinois pricing, 7583, and Continental General, State of Illinois Pricing, GILG 3AA9. Motion by Alderman Rivera, second by Alderman Moiseo. Are there any questions to this motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Kirkwood?
Aye.
Alderman Seager?
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo?
Aye.
Alderman Rivera?
Aye.
Alderman Newsome?
Aye, motion carried. Motion to authorize the proper city officials to approve a change order in the amount of $1,812,000, increasing the contract award to Baxter and Woodman Bowler LLC for water plant improvements approved on December 17, 2017, and then revised approval on January 22, 2019, to a total revised amount of $5,999,000. This project utilizes 2018 seawater and sewer funds. And then it's in the narrative there, what all of these funds are going for. In the original contract awarded to Baxter Woodman handles the design, engineering, and project oversight, and Bowler handles the construction of the following projects: West Bay fillers, 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 replacements, reclaimed building sludge, handling improvements, water pump station, HVAC improvements, chemical and chlorine facility improvements, water quality, and on and on and on. Motion by Alderman Moiseo, second by Alderman Seager. Are there any questions to this motion? Roll call. Oh, Alderman Rivera.
So we're adding $1.8 million,
Correct.
okay. And we just underestimated, or?
On the, in the write-up, on the very last sentence there, and Mike can elaborate on this, I believe that initially the intent was to have HR Green do this work.
Actually, it was the other Tilly.
CMT.
Yeah, CMT, and this was part of the design as far as for the 6 pumps that we're replacing. But what ended up happening is, after talking with them for actual speed, because we won't want the plant to be down for a period of time, they're going to end up redoing the plumbing, which we need to do. And if you have your own plumbing at home, if you start to play with it, it's going to break. And this is from 1927. And so they're going to put stops or valves to stop the water so they can put these pumps in, redo the plumbing. And actually, Baxter and Woodman's here if you'd like.
And I believe this was going to actually be a 2020 project,
Yes.
and then it was moved up because of some of the things that were identified at the plant.
We identified other issues. We're going to shut down. Well, those pumps weren't working at this point in time. We're going to bypass all of that in order to put everything into place. They got prices, I mean, everything. We're going to modernize it so these valves actually exercise themselves, so our guys don't have to do it. They'll also be tied in with the SCADA system so that they can sit in a room and know whether the pumps are on or off, the actual valves. I mean, this is quite, we're going top notch. I mean, it's needed service since 1927, so.
Thank you.
Yeah. These the updates
Yeah, a lot of TLC.
before it started breaking down.
Yeah, and we want to do this, so if this all works out because of the time limit, we should be able to do something in March in conjunction with getting the pumps just about the same time. So it's working out actually well.
Being proactive on this.
Yes.
All right, are there any more questions on the motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Moiseo?
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood?
Aye.
Alderman Rivera?
Aye.
Alderman Seager?
Aye.
Alderman Newsome?
Aye, motion carried. Item T, motion to authorize the appointment of Miller, Canfield, Paddock, and Stone, PLC, as the City of Waukegan's bond counsel, and further to accept the fee schedule as attached in their proposal dated October 30th, 2019. Motion by Alderman Moiseo, second by Alderman Kirkwood. Are there any questions to this motion? I'm going to just read. The City of Waukegan issued a request for proposals for bond counsel services. An internal working group, including Mayor Cunningham, Finance and Purchasing Committee Chair, Alderman Newsom, along with members of the Mayor's Office, Treasurer's Office, Finance Department, and Corporation Counsel, evaluated the 7 proposals received and moved 3 firms on to in-person interviews. Evaluation was based on each firm's experience with financing of Waukegan or comparable issuers in Illinois. In particular, consideration was given to firms' experience in tax matters and the attorneys who practice full-time in the area of public finance and municipal securities tax law. Based on those evaluations, the team recommended the selected firm be appointed as bond counsel to assist the City of Waukegan in matters involving public finance, tax increment financing, and other federal tax matters as they arrive. Are there any questions to this motion? Alderman Taylor.
So if I read this correctly, this is that next year we plan on taking out another $50 million in bonds, is that correct?
No, this has nothing to do with any particular bond issue. This is just appointing a bond counsel. So if and when we do issue bonds, including refinancings, we do have a water sewer bond that has a call provision coming up in the spring that will likely bring forward to refinance so that we have a bond counsel in place. Also, from time to time, questions will arise. A department might ask, can we use our bond money instead of using it to replace the roof on the police department? Can we use it for carpet? This way we can contact bond counsel and ensure that we're not violating any tax codes by using tax-exempt monies in a particular way.
Okay.
And
So-
then we also have 2 other matters that might be coming up. We do have a pay-as-you-go TIF arrangement that may result in a TIF bond at some point because of the existing agreement on file. And then we also agreed in the fire union contract to implement a post-retirement plan. I think it was an HSA plan, and we'll likely need a tax opinion on that as well. So even though it's not bond counsel, it is IRS code. So we could never issue another bond again, and they wouldn't get paid, but this is just to have the bench ready.
Okay, so we're not guaranteeing them any payment right now.
Right, if you look at all the
Yeah, that's
proposals
what-
for bond
yeah.
counsel, they get paid on a per transaction basis. Or, if we call them, so for example, the tax deferred questions we have on this new benefit that was added to the fire union contract, they would bill us by the hour for a tax opinion.
Okay.
And we currently have a bond counsel now, so we're just...
I know that, but it kind of seems like we're anticipating taking more bonds out.
Actually, Paul Durbin left the firm, and that's what prompted this RFP process.
Okay.
And it doesn't hurt, as you guys have all been pointing out, to have them refresh their,
Right.
what they charge us on a per transaction basis. The refinancing, though, I do anticipate that in the spring. So that should save us some interest on some water sewer bonds that we have outstanding.
So we're not, until they actually perform their,
Correct.
all right.
That's all of since Mr. Long was appointed as our corporation counsel, he will bring law firms to the council either through the insurance committee or whatever the insurance committee is now, or here, and then we have a listing of what their hourly rates or what the agreed upon charges are. So when the legal bills come in, Sean, back there, goes and we look at what they're supposed to be charging, then Mr. Long signs off on it. So we're just kind of formalizing the process.
Okay.
Any more questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Seager.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Aye.
Alderman Moiseo.
Aye.
Alderman Newsom.
Aye, motion carried. Reports and communication.
I'm not sure, is there anyone here from the county, Mike, to talk about the 14th Street project?
Frank?
Making,
Frank Furlan's here.
Okay, Frank? I can give a little intro as Frank makes his way to the front of the room. We entered into an intergovernmental agreement with Lake County, I believe North Chicago, and the city of Waukegan regarding 14th Street. They are doing some significant repairs because they received a federal grant, and the city entered into this intergovernmental agreement with a certain understanding of costs that would be capped. And the counties had recent conversations with the city's team about potential change orders. So we wanted to alert the committee to that before those were brought forward. How's that for a summary?
Sounds pretty good. Good evening, Alderman.
Good evening.
The big question as far as the city of Waukegan is concerned, we have a water main that's underneath the pavement and basically in the middle of the road over toward the city limits between Waukegan and North Chicago. The water main's been in the ground for prior to 1960. It hasn't had any problems with it. However, there's a concrete pavement over the top of it. It's 10 inches thick, and we were trying to keep the water main where it was at. It got to be a problem with the federal government and the highway program that they wanted to put a new pavement in on Lewis Avenue, on 14th Street. And we were going about it that we wanted to leave it there. The conditions were that they had to build a new pavement as part of this program that they're doing. It all started with a bike path on 14th Street. The upshot is that we're looking now to move the water main over to the north right-of-way. We have a problem there because we've got a 36-inch storm sewer sanitary force main that belongs to the North Shore Sanitary District. And we originally wanted to put it in that parkway. There's a requirement that there has to be a 10-foot separation between the water main and the force main. And there just isn't enough room to get it there, so we're going to have to put it back underneath the pavement under a new piece of pipe, ductile iron. There's still one more chance we're working, and I spoke to the design engineer, Mr. Kevin, sorry, can't think of his name right now. He's with Civil Tech, who are the design engineers for the highway program. And we're going to give one more shot to the State of Illinois Water Department to allow us to use one of the exceptions that they have to their rule of keeping it separated. And the big thing is that the force main was put in underneath the water service to avoid this 10-foot separation between the two of them when it was originally put in. We're going to try to give that one more shot to be able to put that water main over in the North Parkway. If we can't get it there, then we're going to have to put the water main, the new water main, back underneath the pavement.
And that's underneath the street.
It's underneath the street, yes. This time, because the street is being changed from 4 lanes of travel, they're going to have 2 lanes of travel with a center right-left turn bay. And that's where the water main will be placed. It will be put underneath that left turn bay where there's the least amount of traffic. I hope that helps a little bit of what we're doing. Are there any questions?
No. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very informative.
Thank you. All right.
There's, all the reports are loaded on board docs, and I'm happy to go through those if you want, or we can, you can reach out to me if you want. There were 2, however, that I did want to touch on tonight. If you'll bear with us a little bit longer. One is item C, which is the bond-funded projects update. And that will change a little bit because there were a lot of change orders on tonight's agenda. But for the 2018 A bonds, which are the bonds that are paid for with home rule sales tax that were for road-only projects, we do believe that we will have one more contract award before April 30th, which will be for just like $2.3 million. And that would be phase 3, and that would allow for road construction in the spring. That will be the last of those bond monies. So again, that will tap those out. The 2018 B bonds were the large GO bond that were for all the other projects except for water and roadways. We did have the change order tonight for this facilities improvement that Katie brought forward. Other than that, we do anticipate some facilities, specific facility. Kluber will be handling some bids for that, but that's taken into account. So when we take those out, we believe we'll have about $6 million to roll over from those bonds for next fiscal year. For the water bonds, I had originally projected $2 million to roll over, but we had the $1.8 million change order tonight. So the water sewer bonds will be complete as well. So these are contracts awarded, not necessarily expended. So for example, we awarded a very large contract to HR Green, so that this isn't cash out of the door. This is contracts awarded. So again, after tonight, the only bond funds that will really be left will be about $6 million of the 2018 B bonds. So I just wanted to keep everybody appraised of that. And then if there's any questions on that, I'm happy to answer those. And then the other is just the budget to actual report. We do include this in the packet every month. It is a very thick report, I know that. It has all the line items. It has the budget, the amended budget, the actual, and then a prior year. There's just two things I wanted to highlight for tonight. If you look at page 6 of the document, it's our taxes and our general fund year to date. So our sales tax, home rule sales tax, local use tax, those are all trending higher than the prior year, which is great news. So they're about 5% higher overall. We do believe we'll meet our budget projections on those. But if you take those and you compare those to the food and beverage and to the hotel tax is actually down from last year, and the food and beverage tax is just up just a tad. So this is another reason that we wanted to thank the committee for letting us move forward with these hotel tax and food and beverage tax audits. The food and beverage tax and hotel tax do run concurrent with sales tax. We use, in fact, the state sales tax return as a supporting document. So those really should go together. So if sales tax is up 5%, your food and beverage tax should be up 5% as well. So I just wanted to point that out. That's why we do believe that there are some compliance issues there. And then the only other matter that I wanted to flag for everybody on page 65, if you look down under, towards the bottom of the page, this is the fire department budget. It starts with 100-3019, that's fire suppression. If you look at the overtime line item, it's the third line item down after you see the word building department. So this is overtime, uniformed overtime and fire suppression. The budget was $749,000, which was a significant increase over the prior year's budget, and that was to accommodate the 27 staffing levels. And as of the end of November, which we still have all the way to go through April 30th, $633,000 has already been expended on overtime. So I do believe that when this was all a discussion point and the union was stating their case, I believe they had estimated $500,000 in total overtime to meet those manning minimums, and we're well over that. So last year at the same point in time, that year-to-date column, we had spent $213,000 on overtime, and again, we're at $633,000. So we do believe that we will exceed the budget allotment. The chief is monitoring this and working with his staff to try to better control this going forward, but it is something that I wanted to point out to the group.
Tina,
Yes.
that's all available for the public too?
Yes, it's on our website. Every month we upload the line item budget to actual in the finance committee packet.
Thank you.
And again, if there's any other questions on any of the other reports, I'm happy to answer those now, or if any of the aldermen want to follow up with me.
Okay. No more questions on anything?
Motion to adjourn?
I'm going to take a motion by Alderman Moiseo, second by Alderman Seeger, to adjourn at 6:40 PM. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. We are adjourned.
Take a break, friends.